Hi guys, how's it going? So today, as you can see, back with another breakdown of the road not taken. This time we are looking at the VFX and the colour grading. I'm going to start with the VFX. It's going to be shorter, the VFX isn't too heavy, very quick rundown showing the basics of how we did it. May have mentioned this before, this summer I'm going to be doing a lot more of these breakdowns with future projects, but also we'll be doing some hopefully more in-depth looks into a lot of these and tutorials. I'm going to start pushing a lot like that kind of stuff out. Very soon, since I've got these videos done, I'm going to be working on some videos showing how I do colour grading, how I do VFX, how I edit, that kind of thing, like where I think I'm going to go into cinematography, and that will kind of link into some really detailed stuff that we're going to bring out this summer too, so that's going to be fun. But let's actually get started on this video. So I just hide that layer to begin with. This is the opening shot from the road not taken, where Jack walks up to the mirror. Let it just render in here. Nice simple shot, no colour grading done inside of After Effects. Some people like to do that. I'm not a fan of it really. I prefer to use Resolve for colour grading, which we'll come on to shortly, but for this one it was very simple, just adding this butterfly here. It was purely just drag and drop the butterfly PSD Photoshop document that Callum designed, and then just made it a 3D layer with the little box there, and then adjusted it in 3D space till it fit nicely there. Next up is almost identical with the TV, the butterfly in the right corner. Again, very similar with both. A little bit of a Gaussian blur added to them as well, which we could probably see. Here the effects thing was showing up, which it is not. Default. Does that help? Yeah. So there is a Gaussian blur on that, just to make it blend a bit better, since the focus was obviously in camera terms behind the mirror, because it's essentially the distance to the mirror and then the distance from their back to his face essentially, so it kind of adds distance there in the weird way that cameras work. So I did some Gaussian blur to match with roughly the same amount of blur that you're getting on the edge of the mirror there. Very similar again with this one, fit it in 3D space. Masked it a little bit just to fit in a bit nicer, because there's text and stuff on that file as well. If you okay, because the mask is there, it's yeah, there is some text there too. So as you can see, and then some blur just to hide it in. This next one, a bit more complicated. This is the text. Firstly, bring in the Photoshop document, create some text, type it out, which is just that text there. And then obviously, because Jack comes in and covers part of where the text was, it would look really weird if that text were to sit on top of it. Like if I just duplicate it and get rid of the mask, you can see it would just sit over his head and look really weird. So if I just get rid of that, what I did was went through and masked out his head frame by frame, just to cover up the sections of text that he covers up, just so it fits in a bit better. Nice and simple, and it's just playing with in the text. If you click on the opacity, you can see I've just flickered the opacity a bit to get that kind of change in what the text looks like. And with the final one, this was a bit more complicated. So we've got that shot and that shot. I got them to roughly match lining up. We did some funny positioning to try and match the structures as best we could 2 days apart. Got as close as we could without using proper marks and everything, and then just masked around the right things and whatnot, just to get it all looking nice in there. And I also have here, that is another mask, because didn't think of this while shooting it, but obviously Natalie's real head came into frame here, which was covering up, which was annoying, and rather than reshooting, we just I do have this black mask that moves around during this shot. May be noticeable, hopefully not, because I think people have been paying more attention here. Not perfect, definitely would have reshot that in a way that wouldn't have had that if we were to do it again. But yeah, that's simple breakdowns, just masking and overlaying and that kind of stuff, I think. What's the blending mode on this layer as well? Oh, just normal, just the opacity, I'm guessing. Yeah, just a change in opacity so that we can kind of flicker it in as well, similar to how I flicker the opacity with the text. So that's the VFX, very basic, very simple, just text and overlaying and masks. Fairly simple composition, composite stuff. So I'll be looking more into this a bit more in depth this summer. And then next is the colour grading. We actually use Premiere for the colour grade for the final one because we don't have access to DaVinci Resolve at college, but I have done, I basically had to play with all the footage to see kind of where we'd take it. So some of these aren't the exact final colour grades, but they're close. Just kind of give you an idea of how I was thinking while we did do the colour grading. So I'll just go a bit further into this shot when the slate's out of the way. There we go. So I can see it a bit better. If I just maybe start the original shot, then if I just, is it Shift A? Control D. Control D. So we start with a bright shot. First thing I do, get the exposure correct. Then I pull some saturation out of it. Then it was bringing in, see the colour there, we've got a bit of push towards the green area with that. And then on the final one, just some simple curves just to crush the contrast a bit. Contrasty, a bit greeny. Again, all very similar here, so if I just go through and back to the original shot. So we've got that. Then bring the exposure down a touch. Pull some saturation out. Get the kind of wash that we're wanting with that grey, greeny, bluey colour. Add in some contrast. And then add even more contrast with that one. And add a little bit more green, I think, in that one I did as well. Yeah. Just to bring it a bit further. Again, just bringing that kind of green tinge into the shadows is what, and having quite a bit of contrast is what we kind of went for with the dystopian side of things. As you can see by a lot of these shots, I just keep skipping through, I'll eventually find a sub. Again, very blue, very grey, very green. And if we skip past a few of these, because these are just some random shots I got. In fact, there's a little slower clip of Cam jumping off some rocks. Let's keep going. Where is it? So these are just random shots I was getting more for the sake of it. So there's the original shot. We go back through, exposure, so for this it was lift the shadows a bit, as you can see with the scopes down here. Pull some saturation out, get that little kind of blue-green tinge, then contrast. Again, very similar with a lot of this dystopian stuff, it was a bit same basic kind of colour grade. We can skip through a bunch here. And obviously with the more utopian stuff, if I go through, we have that. Fix the exposure a bit. Add that kind of nice warm golden look that we went for with the utopian side. Add a touch of more warmth into it, I guess there. Yeah, more warmth into it, and then some curves, just add a touch more contrast into it. And that's essentially how we did it for a lot of these. It was just the same basic flow of things for a lot of the shots. It's like the warm tint, adjust exposure, try not to clip, but just get. And as before, as after, there's a huge difference. It's a bit more visible if I hit not that one. Save versions and full screen, and you can just see, you know, yellower, just warmer, that kind of thing. And this one I was especially trying to avoid clipping in the sky too much. Could have shot this in log, but we didn't really have the time to colour grade log files. This is probably one of my favourite shots, as you can see before and after. Looked a lot better. We could have shot it in log, but it's the way it is. Let's keep going. Again, it's all very similar. This is the shot that never actually ended up in the final thing, if I remember rightly. It's just a simple shot of Jack throwing and skipping some stones. Right, we've got that one, which let's just bring out the look, the warm, sunny, summery kind of feel out of the footage. You can see in this one quite a bit. And again, these shots. There it is. And before and after. So it's just adjust exposure, colour, and then colour grades the way I do it, as I'll go into more detail with this summer. First correct exposure, then correct colour, then apply the kind of colour look I'm going for, then add or remove contrast and do a colour, like a light grade, an exposure grade if you like. You can see it's just about maximising detail, getting something like summery and happy and nice for the utopian side of things. Yeah. Fairly simplistic colour grade as a whole, and then it's a bit more dystopian, so it was the greeny blues and that kind of thing. Again, very simple, very brief, very quick, but hopefully that kind of shows a little bit of how I colour graded this film, how I did the VFX, how we kind of pulled off some of the stuff we did and made it look the way it did. Again, I'm going to be doing much more detailed things at a later date, and some incredibly detailed tutorial type things. I'm not going to go too much into that because we're still trying to figure out exactly how we want to do them, but there's going to be some hopefully very interesting videos coming out on how to do a lot of this stuff. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. I shall see you guys next time. Adios.